welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina, and in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 ways.
Hi, Regina the editor here. I don't know why I really wanted to say 3 ways. I had a third way, but it didn't quite make sense. There's actually 2 ways that you're going to learn how to preserve tomatoes without cooking or canning. They're good, but there's just 2. So when I say 3, remember, I actually mean 2. Thank you.
Ways that you can preserve tomatoes without cooking or canning them. Now, the tomatoes in front of me, these are the tomatoes that have been picked from my garden in the past 2 days. It's that time of year where the plants are really ramping up, and once the Romas start producing, then I know I'm in for a few weeks of a lot of tomatoes. Now, Romas are determinate, so they produce all of their fruit at once, but at once doesn't mean all in the same day. It just means over a set amount of time, over a few weeks. So they've started producing their fruit and ripening their fruit. So I'm getting a lot of tomatoes. But here, I don't just have Romas. I have my Romas, which are my determinate varieties. I have these early dolls, which I have 1 plant of these. These are also determinate. And then the rest of these are from my indeterminate plants that I'm growing, double staked up a single, double stemmed up a single stake. And here I have yellow pear tomatoes. These have proven to be incredibly prolific. It's my first year growing them. And I have a ton of these that I'm getting all the time. I have this one beautiful, perfect Chef's Choice orange. Y'all, if you like non-acidic tomatoes, like more of a mild flavor, this is a great slicer. Can't wait to eat this. I've been waiting for it to get perfect. I have these 3 Costoluto Genovese. Aren't these beautiful? Oh my goodness. I love variety with tomatoes, which is why I grow so many different kinds. But these are beautiful. They look like little baby pumpkins. I have those. I have these terracotta, which I thought I mislabeled. I didn't realize they were like a bronze color, like terracotta. I thought they were the orange tomatoes, but no. But yeah, these are beautiful, and these are delicious too. So I have these, and then I have some other cherry tomatoes down here. This is a mix of Sun Peach, Honeycomb, Isis Candy, and I think 1 or 2 Sweethearts. So when you're getting tomatoes like this, it can be kind of tricky to figure out what to do with them before they go bad. Like, I have a family of 5, but not everyone just like snacks on tomatoes. I do. I eat tomatoes during the summer. I eat tomatoes every single day as a part of a salad or sliced on toast with olive oil, which is delicious. You should try it. Slice the tomato, drizzle with olive oil, and sprinkle with salt. Is really good. Or tomato sandwiches, however you want to. I do that, and my middle daughter will eat a lot of tomatoes, but my other 2 children and my husband, they like tomatoes kind of, but they don't just eat them all the time. So I have to make sure that I have a method of preserving these so that I have them ready for future use, because of course I grow tomatoes for fresh eating. Summertime is the time of tomatoes, but I also grow them so that I can use them in my cooking. Like use them in sauces, use them in stews, and essentially all the applications where I need tomatoes. Now, one of the things that I decided this year, last year I made a few tomato sauces, and we ate those. I made the sauce, I froze it, and maybe 3, I think I made enough for like 3 or 4 pots of like spaghetti, and it was delicious. But this year I decided that because we eat spaghetti probably like twice a month, and so there's no way I could grow enough tomatoes to meet that need for our family. So I kind of decided that instead of making a bunch of sauce this year, because it's still only going to be like 3 or 4 meals worth, I am going to preserve tomatoes for all the other uses. So aside from my need for tomato sauce for like spaghetti or baked ziti, I want to have tomatoes to use for all the other applications. Because I use tomatoes a lot. I make chili all the time, especially in winter. This is Texas. We like chili. I make chili a lot. I make all kinds of different like sauces and soups and things like that need, a little tomato paste or some diced tomatoes in it. I make different pasta dishes that aren't fully tomato based, but they need like diced tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes, things like that. And so I'm focusing, when I preserve my tomatoes this season, I'm focusing on preserving them for those types of applications. So I'll probably have to buy tomato sauce for whenever we eat that, but for everything else I need tomatoes for, I want to see if I can cover as much of that need as I can with tomatoes that I grow in my garden. So that's my plan for this season. And I know that not everyone has a canner, not everyone wants to be cooking tomatoes, not everyone has the time to be cooking tomatoes, especially because most of us are not picking them all at the same time. They're getting a few today, a few tomorrow, a few the next day. So you have to have a way of doing something with them when you only have a few tomatoes, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about that. But before we get into it, if you like this video, as soon as you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I just learned something really cool, click that like button. And if you want more content from me, of course, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to make sure that you never miss any of the uploads, click that bell notification as well so that you'll be notified when I upload a video. I upload about twice a week. I'm trying to get to a more regular, like where I'm uploading on specific days, but haven't gotten there yet, y'all. It's a little tricky, but I'm trying to figure that out. But I do upload about twice a week, so more and more videos to come in, lots of content planned, lots of things to do in my garden to show you guys. So, now the way that we're going to preserve these tomatoes today, I said without cooking or canning. I don't can tomatoes because I don't have a pressure canner. So I'm not like against canning or anything. It's just something I haven't ventured into yet. I think maybe eventually I'll get one. But to be honest, if I can be honest, right, we know each other. I'm kind of afraid of botulism. Like I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong and my whole family's going to get really sick. I know that that's ridiculous. I need to read some instructions and do some stuff. But I have like a fear in the back of my head of that. And then also, I've never pressure canned anything, and so I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So that's the reason why I don't really can tomatoes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I can pickled stuff. I pickle things that I can water bath can, but I've never canned anything other than pickled peppers. All right, so the way that we're going to preserve these tomatoes, and the reason why I brought you here to this video, the 3 ways that I preserve tomatoes. One is by making tomato paste and freezing it, and like I said, no cooking involved. It's a really, really easy way to make tomato paste that I found on YouTube last year, and I thought it was sorcery. I knew it couldn't possibly work, and then I tried it and it did, and I was amazed. So I'm going to show it to you guys, and I learned this method from a channel called Adorable Kitchen, so I'm going to link that video below because that was magical. I haven't seen that method anywhere else, only on her channel, so I'm going to make sure that I give credit to her because I thought it was amazing and it worked really well. So I'm going to make some tomato paste out of these Romas, and I'll also use some of these early dolls. You guys, you don't have to only use paste tomatoes to make paste and sauce, just in case you're wondering. And then another way that but when I make the paste, I'm going to freeze it in bags, and I freeze it in bags that have the same amount as a small can of tomato paste, because that makes it easier for recipes, because oftentimes recipes will call for, you know, a such and such size can, like the standard size can of paste. And so I freeze them in that amount, or in an amount that's like half that. So I know that if they're asking for a can of paste, I need 2 of my little amounts that I freeze in. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how the other way that I preserve tomatoes is by dehydrating them. Now, I don't dehydrate them to the point of like them drying out and becoming a powder. I dehydrate them to make quote-unquote sun-dried tomatoes. Obviously the quotes, because there's no sun involved. I do it in the house because I feel like if I tried to sun-dry them, then just bugs would get them. But I'm going to do that with these yellow pear and with these cherry tomatoes that I have. These are, if you've never made sun-dried tomatoes, you should. They're really delicious. And I use them a lot in like pasta dishes. Like I might make like a pasta dish with like pesto or something, and then I add some sun-dried tomatoes to it. My kids, even the ones who aren't really just tomato snacking eaters, they love those, because when you dry them, because like I said, you don't dry them till they're completely dry. You dry them until they're like almost like fruit roll-up consistency, right? Like still kind of wet, moist. But it concentrates all the sugars in the tomato, so they end up being like really sweet. It's like a concentrated tomato sweet flavor. And they're really, really delicious to add to even sandwiches, but I use them a lot in making pasta dishes. Sometimes I'll like top a soup with them. So, and then I also freeze these after I dry them, sun-dry them. Then I will freeze these as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is make paste out of these Romas. Now, y'all, this is the easiest way to make tomato paste ever. So the first thing I'm going to do is wash these tomatoes. I don't wash them before I'm ready to do something with them, because once you wash them, it's like that speeds up, because I use a little bit of vinegar when I wash them to just rinse off any bugs or anything that might be on them that I can't see. It just makes me feel better. But once I do that, then they're gonna start like ripening and deteriorating a lot faster, so I don't do that until I'm ready to do something with them. So step one, wash the tomatoes really good, make sure they're nice and clean, and remove all of the stems, any green part that's still on them. Also, I have a few of my Romas, some of the smaller ones, I had some blossom end rot on a couple of them. Most of them are perfectly fine, but I did have a few with blossom end rot. I think early on, I wasn't watering them as frequently as I should. I try to kind of toe the line a little bit with watering to see how much they really need, rather than how much I just want to give them because it's hot. But those tomatoes can still be used. Blossom end rot doesn't mean the tomato is bad. You just cut off the part that's rotten, you look at the tomato, and the part that's good, use it. It's perfectly fine. So I'm definitely going to cut off the ends of those. And then for all my other tomatoes, I'm going to slice them in half or in quarters. The reason why I do this is just to make sure that there's nothing going on the inside of that tomato that I may not be able to see from the outside. Then, once I've cut up the tomatoes and they're all sliced, then I'm going to put them in the blender. Now, the blender I'm using is a Nutra Ninja blender. I actually have a regular size Ninja blender as well, but I found that the Nutra one, it just seems like it gets the pieces just as small as possible. It kind of grinds things up even smaller than the larger blender can. So I'm using my Nutra Ninja. I'm gonna grind these in the same blender I use for my smoothies as well, but I'm gonna grind all of this up in the blender, or blend all this up. Grind sounds really weird. So I'm gonna blend all of this up. So once it's done blending, it's a nice liquid consistency, tomato puree. So to take that puree from paste, what I'm gonna do is use a muslin bag. Now this bag is, I think it's used a lot for spices because it's really breathable. I purchased these on Amazon, I'll put the link in the description. But this bag has really fine weaving. So what I'm gonna do is pour it in here, and then I'm gonna set this bag in a strainer, and the liquid is going to drain out. But the cool thing about it is that you would think that the liquid draining out is gonna be some of my tomato flavoring. You know, it's just gonna be liquid tomato juice, right? No, nay. I sound like it's a YouTuber's name, Bailey Sarian, nay. The liquid that is coming out of this bag is actually just pure water. Like, it barely has any color to it. You can tell that I'm not losing my tomato. It's just water. Because of the weaving of the bag is so fine that it works out that way. So it doesn't actually, the tomato doesn't go through. It filters that out and just drains the water. So I'm gonna leave it here, and I have it set in a strainer, and so that the water can go down into the bowl underneath the strainer. And I'm gonna leave it here for several hours. Sometimes I'll do it overnight, and I can just close the bag and it'll drain overnight. All right, so it has been several hours. I'll put the number of hours on the screen so you guys know how long it's been. But it's been several hours, and now I have my tomato paste. Look at this, y'all. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't it look amazing? Now, did you ever know that making tomato paste was going to be that easy? Right? I thought I was going to have to peel the tomatoes, remove the seeds, do all of that work. No, you don't have to do that. One, when you blend it all up, the peels and the seeds are all blended up. They're negligible. You're not even going to know they're there. And if you do, they're not large or anything like that. They're so blended up that the seeds and the peel, they're so blended up that their presence there is negligible. So you save yourself a lot of work having to do that. And then you don't have to cook it. You don't have to do anything like that. It's super easy. And then whenever you use it, when you're making your chili or you're making your sauce, you just use this tomato paste just like you would any other paste. Now, you notice the color of it. It's nice and red. I feel like when it's cooked, the red is probably a little bit brighter. But to me, I made this last year, and I used it in several dishes where I needed tomato, and it worked out perfectly, and it tasted amazing. So there's one way that you can preserve those tomatoes for future use. It's just by making paste with them. Lastly, the way that I like to preserve these tomatoes, and I didn't even know that this was a thing I liked, because I never purchased sun-dried tomatoes like at the store to use and stuff, but being a gardener makes you try new things because you're looking for ways to utilize the fruits and vegetables that you're growing, you know, for your own health, for your family. And so I tried these last year and they were just so delicious. Like some of them we would just eat snacking, to be honest. They're like tomato raisins is how I feel about them. But to make these, it's actually really easy. If you have a dehydrator, I tried them in the oven and I kept burning them. But I have a gas oven and I just feel like even when I have it turned down really low, it probably gets hotter than it's saying. I don't trust it. But on low temperatures at least. So I make these in my dehydrator, and that seems to work perfectly because I turn it up to like 165 or whatever the higher temperature is. I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, I just slice these. These are kind of larger. These larger ones, I'll just slice them into rings. As you can see I'm doing right here. The smaller ones I can just slice in half, but of course I wash them all first, slice them, and then I lay them on the dehydrator tray. Now, because they are tomatoes, they're a little meatier, so they're going to take a while. They take several hours. My dehydrator is not a fancy one. It's a pretty inexpensive one. I want to say I paid like $30 for it. I'll link it below on Amazon last year, but it works great. So it serves my purpose. I don't need a commercial grade dehydrator. And yeah, I just put them in here. It takes a bunch of hours, and here's what they look like. Now, like I said, these I use them in several cooking applications. I use them a lot in pasta dishes, or sometimes I use them like on top of soups to add texture, or on top of salads to add texture. They're really good. Or sometimes we just eat them, especially like my middle daughter. My middle daughter is like my most adventurous eater, and not even adventurous. She's the one who eats the most fruits and vegetables and different types of food. And she loves snacking on them as well. She'll just eat them fresh once they're dehydrated because, like I said, it's like this concentrated tomato sweetness. It tastes like a tomato raisin. And it's just a really delicious way to eat tomatoes. I hope that you found this content helpful. If you did, and you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit the like button. That helps this video get out to more gardeners. It helps my channel grow, which I would greatly appreciate. And you can click that subscribe button if you're looking for more gardening content like this. And of course, if you want to make sure you never miss an upload, hit that bell notification. So then you'll be notified when that happens. And of course, I have links below in the description to my blender that I used and my dehydrator that I used in this video. And of course, some of the other things that I use in my garden on Amazon. So if you're in the market for any of those things, definitely check those out. That is another way that you can support the channel. I'd appreciate it, but I just want to make sure that that's available to you as well. So thanks again for watching, and until we meet again,